Aria Lee's allegations of rape against Craven Moorehead may not be true. All right, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is, wherever it is that you are. Welcome once more to another video podcast of PNTLIVE. And remember, if you would like to check out the archives of this podcast and many others, just pop on over to PNTLIVE.net. I am your hostess, Alex Mayers. This morning, we're going to get into the details revolving around some recent rape allegations between an adult film actress known as Aria Lee and an adult film industry longtime veteran director known as Craven Moorehead. Now, initially, I was not even going to touch these allegations. The only reason that I'm even getting into this morning or this evening or whatever time it is where you are is because of a rather handsome friend that Craven Moorehead has, who normally really doesn't comment very much on much of what I post pertaining to the adult film industry. But he did have some things to say in regards to these rape allegations. He specifically said that he does not believe them, and he gave me some reasons as to why, which I will share with you. I'm not going to name the handsome friend of Craven who really prompted this podcast, because I don't think I need to at this point in time. I think that there's enough things that I can just really draw some attention to on my own. Primarily just so that people do take the time to think and question certain motives that individuals may or may not have when it comes to accusing one of rape or siding with an alleged victim of rape. Because when it comes to the adult film industry, there really is no black or white. Everything's a shade of gray. And by no means am I a rape apologist. If anything, normally I take the side of the girl without question. But simply due to the source of these rape allegations, meaning the source who put this into the adult entertainment industry blogosphere, known as Kelli Roberts, I do have to question the validity of these allegations. Because the thing about Kelli Roberts, which is nothing more than a guise, a front for a group of individuals who are a part of a sex trafficking gang within the United States adult entertainment industry, a gang known as the Luxury Companion. Just over the years, this guise of Kelli Roberts has lied so extensively about so many people, including myself. Being that that's the case, we do need to re-examine these rape allegations against Craven Moorehead. Again, the only reason that we are discussing this today is because, just very briefly, in a previous podcast that I posted, actually, let me tell you what podcast it was. It was a podcast in which I was basically chastising Mike Quasar due to a comment that he made on Twitter. Okay, it's titled, "Canadian pornographer Mike Quasar doesn't seem to want those who leave the industry to talk about it." Just very briefly in that particular podcast, I mentioned these allegations against Craven Moorehead. We need to talk about Mike Quasar. He's another old asshole in the industry who really needs to shut up, because for one thing, I wish him and that whole gang of guys that he came down into the United States with would all be deported. I wish that they will all go back to Canada, because they do nothing but cause problems. I believe that all of them are likely rapists, whether they've been caught or not. One of them recently was accused, at least. What was that asshole's name? Craven?
I'm just going to read it to you. There's a cover-up going on at Gamma. Porn performer Aria Lee has accused Craven Moorehead of raping her on set.
I personally have an issue with a group of Canadian pornographers within the United States adult film industry. And because of my personal feelings towards one in particular, over the years, I have embodied a certain level of bias against them. The one Canadian pornographer in particular, who I believe is a bigot, a racist, and a misogynist, who I know for a fact coerces women of color to have abortions, is an individual known as No Twitter Maddie. I'm over the situation today. This will probably be the last time I ever mention it, but maybe not. Who knows how I'll feel? I'm a woman. I'm also a human. But because of that situation, because of a lot of hate and anger towards Holder that I've held in my heart over the years, whenever I hear even the mention of a Canadian pornographer, because of that traumatic event in my life all those years ago, I immediately look at that Canadian pornographer with nothing but contempt. And that's wrong for me to do. Just because I have a problem with one Canadian pornographer does not mean that I should have a problem with all of them. I've never met Craven Moorehead, to my knowledge. I've never spoken with him, to my knowledge. So when it comes to my reporting on that situation, I think I do need to be fair. And I do need to disclose all of the information that I have been made aware of when it comes to these allegations of rape. Okay? There's a weird side effect that happens when an adult film actress comes out in regards to an alleged rape, especially nowadays, okay? Not only does it make her more popular than she normally would be, but it draws a lot of sympathy from her fan base, which nowadays that sympathy translates directly into dollars. Aria Lee would likely not have as vast of a Twitter following as she currently has, nor would she be as popular as she currently is if she had not come out and gone public in regards to Craven Moorehead. Craven Moorehead has been in the adult entertainment industry for many, many, many years. I'd say a couple of decades. Actually, let me look up. Okay, Craven Moorehead. How long has he? He's 44 years old. All right, he's around my age. When did he start? He became a director in 1995. And by no means do I think that he's a wonderful person. I stand by my initial assessment of him being an asshole. I will say that. But just because somebody's an asshole, does that necessarily make them a rapist? Not necessarily. I am actually going to play the audio for y'all in regards to what this young woman had to say about Craven Moorehead, but I do want to add that there just are some inconsistencies when it comes to a few things that she said. Her behavior in the video, which I will splice into this podcast when I edit it, her behavior in the video points towards her not being entirely authentic. I'm not saying that her account of what happened did not happen. I'm just saying that there's some things that I noticed.
But everyone needs to know, because this director should not be working, all right? So I'm just gonna read it to you. There's a cover-up going on at Gamma. Porn performer Aria Lee has accused Craven Moorehead of raping her on set. In October 11, 2019, forcing her into a bathroom to give him oral sex when he was shooting for Gamma on location with cast and crew in the other room. I'm sorry, just give me a minute. I haven't told anyone about this, besides AVN. Alright, so here, with cast and crew in the other room, then came the second attack on December 8th, 2019 on another set, ... When she stepped forward to tell her story to Gamma, they did nothing, ... There has been 2 other incidents that Craven has accused of assault or rape, and the company has done nothing. This hasn't impacted him at all, and he is still directing to this day.
One thing that she specifically said in her testimony in regards to Craven Moorehead was that he shouldn't be working. She said it a couple of times, I believe. Now, from my perspective, no pornographer really should be working when it comes to a certain type of pornography that's produced. But on the same token, I wonder if Aria has ever thought to herself that perhaps she shouldn't be working. Now, since she's come out in regards to these allegations of rape, she has continued to work in the industry. And she did also note that she did not initially want to come public in regards to these alleged accusations of rape. One thing to note about Aria Lee is that, now I don't know how old she is now, but when this initially occurred, she was 19 years old. The human brain is not fully developed until the age of 25. So realistically, should Aria Lee be working? From my perspective, no. Being that she has allegedly been raped, should she be working? Not from my perspective. No. Should a 19-year-old be dictating to an entire professional industry whether or not someone who is over a decade her senior be working? No, she shouldn't be. Not from my perspective. The source, as I said, of these allegations of rape stem from an individual or a group known as Kelli Roberts. Again, Kelli Roberts is the front for a gang of sex traffickers known as the Luxury Companion. She also seems to be the mouthpiece for an individual known as Alana Evans, who is a provable liar. The entity known as Kelli Roberts has gone as far as to say that I personally outed hundreds of performers' personal information. Now that's a bold-faced lie that I could take Kelli Roberts to court for and sue Kelli Roberts for when it comes to everything that Kelli Roberts has in their possession. Okay? Kelli Roberts is not truthful. And what's interesting about Kelli Roberts nowadays is that in under less than a year, Kelli Roberts has claimed that a multitude of males within the industry are rapists. Stills by Allen, also of the same studio that Craven Moorehead works for. Ryan Madison, I went into detail in regards to those rape allegations just recently. And it seems that Kelli Roberts, that entity, is specifically targeting adult film studios that are very lucrative, that are the big name studios that seem to have a lot of money. For some reason, Kelli Roberts specifically wants a director, a female director known as Bree Mills, to be fired. And I find that to be very strange strange because I have been an adult industry historian, blogger. I was a performer many years ago. But not ever have I heard directly one negative thing about Bree Mills. I think that the individual who works with her very closely, who I outlined at the beginning of this podcast, is a piece of garbage. But he doesn't tend to keep company of women who are pieces of garbage. He tends to surround himself with women who are the cream of the crop, who are very good people. One thing that Aria said in her testimony was that when this alleged rape happened, the entire crew was downstairs. It's possible that this rape did occur. Okay, it's possible. I wasn't there. But if that entire crew was downstairs, then the person that I mentioned at the start of this podcast would have been downstairs too. And I don't think that he would work on a set to where that would have happened. I just don't. Let's go ahead and read these allegations directly. Here's what the AVN write-up says. And this was posted June 6th of 2020. In a video posted to her Twitter page Friday of 2020, AVN Best New Starlet nominee Aria Lee leveled 2 allegations of sexual assault against Hall of Fame director Craven Moorehead, claiming the assaults occurred in October and December of last year, meaning 2019. The allegations were first brought to AVN's attention in late February by way of an anonymous letter and then confirmed by Lee during a meeting on March 2nd. However, as Lee explains in Friday's video, after reading select passages at the time, quote, "I didn't want to go public about it," end quote. The anonymous letter. Let's talk about that really quickly. Over the years, as an independent investigative blogger, when it's come to me being the recipient of certain allegations, accusations, and rumors of very sensitive matters, it does seem that I have been consistently notified initially by an anonymous source. For example, the situation revolving around Richard Nanula. In that situation, it turned out was leaked to me by parties attached to what? The sex trafficking ring known as the Luxury Companion. So here we are today with more allegations against a specific target. The source who's put these allegations out initially is who? Kelli Roberts. Who does Kelli Roberts work for? The Luxury Companion. How were these allegations initially brought to light to AVN? By an anonymous letter, which was sent by a party where? In Santa Clarita, California. Sure wouldn't have been hard for Alana Evans to jump in her car, drive to a mailbox in Santa Clarita, California, and mail that letter. Just saying. Theoretically, could have happened. She continued, but now, I think I definitely should, because this guy should not be working. And I have been going through, I guess, hell. I have a therapist now that costed a lot of money because of him. So she would want to recoup that money. Okay, or maybe she got the therapist, if the allegations are not true, to have a reason to request money. Okay, but again, let's look at this sentence. This guy should not be working. This young woman has been on this planet for only around 20 years, but she's an authority in regards to the adult film industry as to whether or not someone should or shouldn't be working. Interesting. Now, she could just be regurgitating what someone else has said to her in regards to him not being one who should be working. But has anyone ever said to Aria Lee, hey, you look like you're 12 years old. Do you realize that the kind of adult content that you perform in essentially caters to pedophiles? Have you ever thought to yourself, maybe I shouldn't be working?
I wanted to say thank you for all of the love and support that I received during this rough patch. That means commenting, messaging, anything. I don't know if I would have been able to do this without that. I also wanted to thank my agent Sandra for everything that she's done through this.
Moorehead had not responded to a request for comment at post time. The first incident, Lee asserts, took place on October 11th while shooting a scene at a private residence for Gamma Films Group's Pure Taboo banner. In an interview with AVN Friday after posting her video statement on Twitter, Lee described that during a lunch break, she asked Moorehead to show her to the bathroom. He was like, "Of course, I'll walk you up there. This place is confusing." He was being nice. I thought he was being a good director, Lee said Friday. And he takes me to the bathroom. As I'm closing the door, he rushes in, pushes the door closed, pushes me down to my knees, and makes me perform fellatio upon him. And he just walked out and acted like nothing happened. It could have happened. It could have happened. Or maybe it didn't happen. That's something for a court of law to determine, from my perspective. The second encounter, she claims, occurred on December 8th, when Moorehead arranged for her to serve as an extra in a mainstream horror movie directed by musician Glenn Danzig. Lee alleges that Moorehead insisted on driving her to the set, and during the car ride, quote, he took one hand off the steering wheel, unbuckled my seatbelt. I said, quote, "What are you doing?" End quote. He said, quote, "Oh, I'm not doing anything," end quote. And I wish I would have recorded this, because then this would be actual evidence. But I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Nothing." Unbuckles my seatbelt. I rebuckle my seatbelt. I look at him. I said, "What are you doing?" Then he starts to take his genitalia out, and he reached for my seatbelt again. And then he undid it again. And then he tried to force me to give him fellatio. And I was like, "No, no, 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 no," I screamed. I screamed no so many effing times to the point where he was like, "Don't be a sore loser. Come on, don't be a sore loser. Just get me off. Just do this for me. Come on. You know you want to." And I literally sat there, she continued. He forced my hand on his genitalia and he made me jerk it off. But I was so sad and angry. I didn't even move my arm. He literally did it himself. Asked why she would agree to ride in a car with Moorehead after what she claims happened on the Pure Taboo set months earlier, Lee replied, quote, "Because when I first started working for Craven, when I joined porn in 2018, I thought we were friends. Because on set, we would play the same music. We'd vibe about the same things. You know, he's really into rock and roll. I'm into rock and roll. I thought we were friends." I think he took it as I liked him. I never knew that, so I don't know. I just thought he was doing something nice for me. I'm only 19. I made a bad decision. And then the article goes on, and I'll link all this up over to PNTLIVE.net. I'm only 19. I made a bad decision. Did it ever occur to her that being that she's only 19, being in porn in general is a bad decision? I know a lot of you are going to be like, oh, you're so mean, Alex. No, I'm not. Not at all. Because it would be very easy to coerce a 19-year-old who's already an actress, who's already used to lying for a living. That's what an actress is. It would be very easy for a woman who's older in the industry, who comes off like a maternal figure, to tell this young woman that Craven Moorehead is a really bad guy, and that if she does this, not only would she be more popular than she normally would be, but her doing this would help many other women who allegedly have been assaulted by Craven Moorehead, and it in turn would generate additional revenue for her via the form of sympathy, which has translated into dollars via signups for her OnlyFans. I'm not saying that this is what Alana Evans approached Aria Lee with. I'm just saying that it's a plausible theory that I've had for a while. I'm going to read to you what Craven Moorehead's handsome friend said to me on social media. I'm not going to say what this individual's name is, but I'm just going to read to you what he said in regards to these allegations. I know Craven. I doubt that is true at all. So my response was, if it's not true, then it was a lie manufactured by Kelli Roberts, aka Alana Evans' alter ego. That's who initially reported the situation. That's actually where all the recent rape allegations stem from, except for the Marcus London one. That was Sean, TRPWL. And then I posted a link to Kelli Roberts' blog where the initial Craven Moorehead allegations were posted, okay? Then Craven's handsome friend responded, not a very professionally written article, even by porn standards. Then I responded, here's the accuser's video where she makes the claims. And I linked him to Aria Lee's video, okay? So he watches the video. And this is what his response was to the video. He said, couple of points. She has BLM in her Twitter handle, so I don't like her already. And I personally don't agree with BLM either. And the reason I don't is because BLM is no longer about Black women. At this point, BLM is in regards to defunding the police, which is an agenda that individuals attached to organized crime are using BLM as a vehicle for. People attached to organized crime want to defund the police. And you know who wants to defund the police more so than almost anybody else? Criminals attached to sex trafficking, such as the luxury companion. And who initially put these allegations of rape out? The publicist for the luxury companion, known as the sex trafficking group, Kelli Roberts. Number 2, did you notice how she started talking about her therapist and money? This looks more like a cash grab to me. Now, I hadn't even said anything to Craven's handsome friend about my thought when it came to her mention of the therapist, and that possibly being a plausible reason to sue him or create a lawsuit meant to be settled out of court in which he can request some dollars. Then he concludes by saying, I'm good friends with Craven and his wife. I just don't think this is true. So my response was, it's possible it's not true. At some point, someone accused needs to subpoena Kelli Roberts to see exactly who shows up to court as Kelli Roberts. So then Craven's handsome friend responded again. I just talked to Craven for about 2 hours. The allegations against him are not true. I can't get into real details, but he's another victim of cancel culture. Also, let's not forget that Gamma issued a statement absolving him of it before she came out. Craven got straight up canceled, Twitter mobbed, and Me Too'd. It's sad. The incident had already been investigated. The whole reason Gamma caved is because the girl put out a video with 90,000 followers and they didn't want the publicity. Personally, I think he has a great defamation lawsuit if he decides to go down that route. At the end of the day, what I think happened is she showed up late for set, Craven yelled at her, she decided to get revenge on him by claiming rape, Craven was investigated, Craven was found innocent, the girl posted the video, then Sandra came in to try to look all powerful and super woke, and then Craven gets blackballed. Such a shit show.